Hi, I'm JWoww and welcome to Planet JWoww. You're diving in with me on a ride that's a free course that I'm called From Gender Roles to Human Relationships, a choreography of power and equality. And what we're going to talk about in this first video is power. How do we define power? Because once you define that, then there's an entire conversation that opens up around how you have reach in the world and how you actually get to make a difference or not, depending upon what your choices are. So here on Planet JWoww, and you'll hear me talk about that, here on Planet JWoww, I define power as the ability to influence that which is not our isness. Okay, and there's a whole isness, notness conversation that I have in another video, in another free course. You can check that out on the site. So, this isness that we have, there's the notness, that's everything that's not that. We'll just go with that. So, power is the ability to influence that which is not our isness. In the entire gender role conversation, particularly in a patriarchy, because it's a patriarchy, it means that dominant culture is the culture that has an outie. Okay, that's how we're going to work with the definition. In that culture, then, anything that has outie behavior, that's how we're going to say it, anything that has outie behavior is going to be cherished over any behavior. And if you think that that's not true, there's the phrase, it's better to give, which is an outward penetrative behavior, than to receive. Why is that true? No, it's not. I love getting gifts. It is just as good to receive as to give. Okay? We have all kinds of axioms in our languaging that make penetrative behavior the good behavior and receptive behavior the bad behavior. And so by taking those behaviors out of gender, then we can work with the behaviors regardless of the person's gender. Now, here's why that's important. If I say to you, please assign a gender to a characteristic that I give you. That's the game we're going to play. So I'm going to give you two characteristics and you tell me which gender goes with the characteristic. You just do it at home. All right? So, strong and vulnerable. Which one's masculine, which one's feminine? Got it? Okay. Most of you said strong was masculine. All right. My best friend used to leg press 790 pounds. Yes, she did. And some of the most loving, mommying, receptive, enfolding, gentle, kind, tender human beings that I know have an outie. It's got nothing to do with gender. And yet, we've made it difficult for men to cry and be vulnerable because we've assigned these roles to attributes. They're just attributes, folks. So we get to have gentle men. The reason why the phrase around Provincetown, Mass, is a very gay town. I mean, literally, like lots and lots and lots. Most of the population is gay. And there's a T-shirt that they have out of it that says Provincetown, where the women are strong and the men are pretty. Okay? Now, that's funny. And it's funny because we don't associate pretty with men. It'd be handsome at best. And when you say strong, you don't normally think of women first. That's what makes that funny. And the fact that that is funny is an issue. Okay? So, power. Why is that important in this conversation? Power is important in this conversation because we want to use that power of language to reach out and change the playing field for relationships. So, if we stop talking about masculine and feminine, which roots things in whether you have an outie or an innie, instead, when we start talking about penetrative and receptive, there's no gender associated with that. There's no intersectional race, orientation, anything associated with penetrative and receptive. There's either it goes out or it comes in. That's it. You know women who have penetrative energy. And you know what our society does? It says that they are bossy or bitchy Or what's your problem? You trying to be like a man? Because I'm not emulating a doormat, I'm trying to be like a man. Oh, and by the way, that statement, I'm not trying to emulate a doormat, is said with derision about how our society holds actually femininity when it's not holding it up for porn reasons. Let me tell you something about femininity. This is going to be a shocker for a whole bunch of people. Did you know that feminine gestures, all of this, the delicate, the this, the that, all of those gestures that are considered to be feminine, they started as gestures that priests were required to do in their prayers to God to show their subservience to God. And because these male priests needed their egos stroked, they forced the wealthy male business people who were their, benefactors, what have you, to do those same gestures that they did to God, to do to them. And since the wealthy male business people knew that the priests had to do it to God, they wanted their ego stroked, so they made the women in their lives do those same gestures to them so that they could be subservient to the men. So all of the femininity gestures and all of the this and all of the that, all of that started with priests doing it to God and landed with men making women subservient. Now, don't get me wrong. I love high heels and a swish just like anybody else because I'm acculturated. And yet the reality is that that's based in subservience, which makes it very difficult. And here's a real example. I have trouble figuring out what my version of being feminine and being a woman means, because I know what those feminine gestures are, and I'm not willing to be subservient, and yet I have no other options because of the way society is, because it associates those gestures with gender. Now, you get plenty of RuPaul's and all of the men who are gender benders when it comes to being transvestites, and then you get transsexuals. You have all of this that's taking that out and giving me room and freedom. That's power. That's an equalizing of the playing field because we're taking it out of just gender and talking about human relationship. That's what's so beautiful about all of this. Okay? So, I'm going to get in this next video, I'm going to talk about different examples of where we're stuck and what's possible for us next. Because being inside of this entire discussion around gender roles and this choreography of power and equality, it is this dance between what we've known and what we get to know, because we have new technologies and new definitions of what these relationships can be. And it starts with coming out of gender and coming into this gender neutral, if you will, languaging of penetrativeness and receptiveness that births a whole new set of lenses for looking at our worlds and looking at ourselves. So I'm JWoww, you're on Planet JWoww, and this course, this free course, is From Gender Roles to Human Relationships, a choreography of power and equality. I'm looking forward to the next video with you, and I'll see you really soon. Thanks so much.